Analyst with Channel 12. Tonight we begin our series of debates featuring the candidates in the major primary races to be decided coming up pretty soon, August 10th. Our debate tonight features the two candidates running in the Republican primary in Colorado's 7th Congressional District. They are Aurora City Councilman Ryan Frazier and pilot and small business attorney Lang Sias. Let's talk a little bit about the 7th. It is made up mostly of Denver's suburbs, considered to be Colorado's most politically balanced district. It encompasses most of Adams County, but also includes the cities such as Arvada, Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, and Aurora. The Democratic incumbent, Ed Perlmutter, the current representative in the 7th Congressional District, trying for a third term, the winner of this primary, will face him in November. Gentlemen, great to have you with us. Seems like a great setting. You two obviously get along well. Eric, why don't you start off the questions?
Great. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for being our kickoff on this series of debates. We'll get right to it. Obviously, everyone says jobs are the issue. Jobs, jobs, jobs. So I'd like to hear from both of you as to what Congress can realistically do without overpromising to help in job creation. And a related question would be, if you were sitting in Congress right now, where would your vote be on the extension of unemployment benefits?
First off, let's start with the benefits. It's a specific. Ryan, we'll start with you.
Well, Jim, this is a legitimate question that I think many folks are grappling with in the Congress right now. Instead of talking about unemployment benefits, we need to be talking about the benefit of employment, which drives into the question you asked initially. How do you drive greater employment and jobs in this country? We know how it's been done. We saw during the Reagan administration, we saw during the Kennedy administration, that when government removes itself as an obstacle to private business investment, we see growth in our country. And that's what we need today. We need the types of economic growth policies that cut the corporate income tax rate down from 35% to at least 20%. We need to cut the capital gains taxes from where it's currently at 15%. It's scheduled to go over 20% in January of 2011. We need to cut those taxes.
Where was that for Reagan, by the way?
Dividend taxes need to be cut down to 10% as well. All this is done not just to cut taxes. It's done to spur private business investment. That's what we need in this country. And in the 7th Congressional District, we have great industries. We have Raytheon. We have Lockheed Martin. We have Horse Tech. We have the bioscience development on the Aurora campus. We have tremendous industries where if we would simply have a Congress that would put our economy first, cut the tax rates to spur private business investment, we would create jobs that Americans need right now.
What about the extension of unemployment benefits?
Well, I think that that's something that we need to continue to look at in the Congress. I believe I have not come down on it one way or another, but I will say that they have been extended time and again.
Yes, they have.
And at some point, we have to say, what are we doing to create jobs? Unemployment benefits don't create jobs. And so we need job creation policies in Congress.
Lang, first off on the extension of the benefits.
Sure. I think that the benefits, I want to make sure that we pay as we go. I will probably reluctantly vote in favor of doing that. But the real issue here is how we go about creating a climate in which the private sector and innovation can actually lead us out of the economic crisis that we're in. I've never held political office before, and I come from a small business background. I work with dozens of small business entrepreneurs here in Colorado, helping them build their businesses and create jobs. And the federal government doesn't create jobs. It takes money from the private sector and pays it to somebody else. And I think we need to create a climate that signals to this market that we're serious about pro-growth business and that we're serious about controlling spending and the debt. And certainly we need to be looking at ways that we can control taxes. Repealing the Bush tax cuts, I think, would be a mistake. We want to bring the corporate income tax rate down. Small individual income taxes have a huge impact on small business. I work with lots of subchapter S corporations and other businesses with a flow-through tax structure. And when you raise those tax rates, those businesses don't employ people. I think it's also important to look at the impact of trade. I believe strongly in free trade and fair trade. We have 3 free trade agreements pending in Congress right now, as you all are probably aware. South Korea, Panama, Colombia, that have the potential to impact this country very significantly. $10 billion in GDP on the South Korea agreement alone. They apply to businesses in Colorado, whether they be agriculture, financial services, or some of our other exports. So I think we need a pro-growth environment and bring some of the $1.8 trillion in money that our non-financial services companies have on the shelf right now. Let's inject that into this economy and use that as a stimulus.
It seems as if some of the discussion we're having is some of the discussion discussion that we've also been hearing over the last several months, and with some of the more recent votes in Congress, some of these debates and some of these battles, your side, if you will, has already lost. So as we go forward, it looks as if we're heading into a higher tax era, and some of the other issues we've been talking about. How, despite some of those votes, if you got back into Congress, could you still sow the seeds of stronger growth in this country?
Well, I think there are a couple things you do. First of all is let's, as they say in the medical profession, first do no harm. The cap and trade legislation, which of course Ed Perlmutter has voted in favor of, I think would be a disaster for this economy. I may be a supporter of renewable energy, but not doing it the way this president has suggested, which would make the cost of current energy skyrocket. So I think that's one piece of legislation that we don't want to go through, and I'm very resentful of the way that administration has tried to use our crisis in the Gulf to crowbar that through. With respect to health care, which of course is a tremendous cost for this economy, and we have some $38 trillion in unfunded liabilities between Medicare and Medicaid alone, I think we need to look at ways to slow down the process of Obamacare. I'd like to see us repeal it, and very importantly, I'd like to see us replace it with some real reform, some cost-cutting measures through the market that will help reduce, that will help make healthcare more efficient.
Ryan, do you think that there's any reasonable way that Obamacare would be reformed?
Well, I do believe that
or repealed, rather?
I do believe that there's an opportunity to repeal and replace Obamacare with free market health care solutions that can control costs and increase access. But let me address the economic question one more point, if I may. You know, I talked with a small business in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. I've been around for 30 years, had nearly 30 employees. And in this economic recession, they're now down to 14. They've lost nearly 50% of their workforce, and they're struggling, and they're afraid to hire. They're afraid to invest because they're afraid that this Congress is going to impose greater regulations and taxes on their business. And that's the problem. There's a great deal of economic uncertainty. In 2011, January, the top level personal income tax is scheduled to rise up over 39%. The dividend taxes are scheduled to go from 15% to 39.6%. The death tax is scheduled to go from 0% to 55%. Businesses are so uncertain right now that they're sitting on their hands. And what they need is a Congress that will commit to them that, as Lang said, will do no harm and will provide an economic climate for job creation. I'm a small business partner. It's a startup. We struggle. I understand the challenges in trying to start a business, and I can tell you the number one thing businesses need is certainty.
Obviously, a lot of pundits and observers are saying this could be a good year for Republicans. I'm sure both of you hope that that's the case. There are also some people suggesting that maybe victory will come too easy for Republicans this year and that they won't have learned the lessons which cost them control of Congress a couple of years ago. I guess my question, gentlemen, is if we wake up in 2011 and there is a Republican-controlled Congress again with one of you serving there, how will that Republican Congress be different than the Republican Congress of 2 or 4 or 6 years ago, which was criticized for excessive spending, cronyism, ethics issues, and all of the rest?
Well, you know, I think what you have two candidates here who are both running on a reform message, who are both running because we've identified that the challenges in this country are too great for us to sit on the sidelines. And the fact that so many people, not just the Tea Party folks, but so many people are concerned about the direction of the country, are concerned about a Washington that doesn't seem to get it, that doesn't seem to pay attention to what's going on the ground, trying to put food on the table, a roof over your head, and clothes on your backs. That's the type of election we're going to have. And as a member of Congress, it's my obligation, my responsibility to stay in touch with those who send me to Congress. And that means having regular town halls, making myself available and accountable for my actions so that people know and I ensure that I'm staying in touch with those who would like to be to Congress.
Lang, it does seem as if no matter where you are on the political scale, people sense, and I saw a bumper sticker today saying, throw them all out. There's just a sense that there's an arrogance in Washington. It's out of touch. Both parties. How do you fight that?
Well, I think you're right, and I've done many home events and town halls and small forums all over the district, and I think people are fed up, and they're fed up with a government that's on the wrong track, and they're fed up with what they perceive are career politicians who have put their own careers ahead of their constituents, who have essentially been buying our votes by taking out a mortgage on our kids' inheritance. You know, I'm not a politician. I've never run for office before, and I would very much like to go to Washington as I did the last time to Iraq, which was as a citizen soldier, and that's a tradition that's pretty alive and well in America. I'd like to go to Washington, as I think the founders intended, as a citizen statesman, not someone who wants to make a career out of it. Go. I don't care if I'm there for 2 years or 10 years, to do what I think is right, something that my children can hopefully be proud of one day, and then come back to my community. And I think that attitude and the willingness to walk away is absolutely essential, because both Republicans and Democrats have blown it when they've been in power. And I think that's the change that people want, and I'm very confident that I can bring to it.
Lang, a sidebar, and obviously you're passionate about some of your ideas and just your thoughts on the political scene, but I know some people have wondered and asked you, why no voting record of your own? Why have you not voted? Or the Secretary of State's office said, you know, there were many, many years in there when Lang didn't vote. How do you explain it?
Well, that's an excellent point, and that's accurate. And I will say to you what I've said in those meetings all across the district, because I've tried to be very forthright about this and actually volunteer this information so people would hear it from me. You know, the fact is that there are a lot of things that I'm proud of in my record. 2.5 decades in the military, and having worked very hard to try and elect our last Republican president. My voting record, or lack of one in Colorado, is just not one of those. And I've never tried to make an excuse for it. I may have some explanations, but I have never offered up an excuse. And I just ask that the voters judge me on the totality of my record, service to the country and to this party, and we'll you know, take all that into account when they evaluate me.
Can I ask, did you just feel that maybe it was just one vote, it's not going to make a difference, too busy? What was it?
You know, I do not want to offer up an excuse. I may have been going on deployments, but there are other people who have found a way to vote in that situation. And frankly, for me to offer that up as an excuse it just denigrates what they did, and I'm just not going to do that. I just have to stand up and take that one.
All right, thanks.